So homophones are when two words have the same pronunciation but different meanings. In other words, they sound the same, but they mean different things. An example in English would be die and die. Both sound the same, die. In this case, they are written differently, but in general, homophones can be written the same way or they can be written differently. But more importantly, they have very different meanings. So it's important to not confuse those two words, die and die. So now let's look at a couple of French homophones. Before we start, make sure to grab your free guide on verbs and verb tenses in the description below and in the first comment. In this guide, we talk about the common regular and irregular verbs in French, as well as the different tenses, when to use them, when to learn them, and more. So before you conjugate any other verb in any other tense in French, make sure to grab that guide. Again, it's completely free. The first French homophone is avocat. And this one, it's written the same way, avocat and avocat. But the two meanings for the word avocat are avocado and lawyer. An example, l'avocat mange un avocat. The lawyer is eating an avocado. The next one is amande and amande. In this case, they are written differently. Amande with an A means almond, whereas amende with an E means fine. So a fine from the police, like a ticket, a fine. An example is, j'ai reçu une amende parce que je mangeais une amande en conduisant. I received a fine because I was eating an almond while I was driving. And notice here that both amende, meaning a fine, and amande, meaning an almond, are feminine nouns. We say une amende for both of them, but it might not always be the case for some other French homophones. For some other words, one of them is masculine while the other one is feminine, so you have to be careful about the gender that you use, but we're going to see some of those examples later. Auteur and auteur. Auteur, starting with an A, means author, whereas auteur, starting with an H, means height. And this is actually an example where one of them is masculine and the other one is feminine. So we say un auteur, an author, but une hauteur, a height. An example is, cet auteur a la phobie des hauteurs. This author has a phobia of heights. Boue and boue. Boue ending with an E is mud, la boue, whereas boue ending with a T means a tip. And this one is le boue. Again, in this case, one of them is feminine, la boue, the mud, whereas the other one is masculine, le boue, the tip. An example is, l'enfant joue dans la boue. The kid is playing in the mud. Another one is, c'est sur le bout de ma langue. It's on the tip of my tongue. C'est sur le bout de ma langue, mais je ne m'en rappelle pas. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't remember it. Dans and dans. So dans, D-A-N-S, means in or inside. So in this case, this one is not a noun. Whereas dans, D-E-N-T, means tooth. So that one is a noun, and we say une dent. Une dent, a tooth. For example, j'ai 32 dents dans ma bouche. I have 32 teeth in my mouth. The next one is filth and filtre. In this case, both of them are masculine nouns, and un filtre with an F is a filter, whereas un filtre with the PH is a potion. Un filtre magique, a magic potion. For example, ils ont utilisé un filtre pour filtrer le filtre magique. They used a filter to filter the magic potion. The next pair of words is reine. And reine with an I is queen, whereas reine with a double N is reindeer. So we see une reine, a queen, but un reine, a reindeer. For example, la reine a un renne, tout comme le Père Noël. The queen has a reindeer, just like Santa Claus. This next word is tour, and it's written the same way for tower and turn, but Tower in French is une tour or la tour, so it's feminine, whereas turn is un tour or le tour, so it's masculine. For example, faisons le tour de la tour. Let's go around the tower. So in this case, we don't exactly use the word turn, but let's go around technically means let's make a turn around the tower. I think that would work. But yeah, the first one, so the yellowish brown color is a turn, refers to the turn, whereas the second one refers to the tower. Faisons le tour de la tour. This next pair of words is very often confused just because both of them are actually used very often. So ou without the accent means or, whereas ou with the accent, and by the way, the accent is called accent grave, ou accent grave, and it means where. So the second one could be used at the beginning of a sentence. For example, where is my brother? Où est mon frère? Or in the middle. For example, I asked where my brother was. J'ai demandé où était mon frère. An example is, je ne sais pas si elle demande où c'est ou ce que c'est. I don't know if he's asking where it is or what it is. And this sentence is a little bit complicated, so you might not really understand what it's talking about, but it's easier to understand if the person is speaking it instead of you just reading it. So you would hear it as, je ne sais pas s'il demande où c'est ou ce que c'est. So where it is or what it is. But the point I wanted to make was that the first ou with the accent means where, and the second one without the accent means or. Schweit. Schweit as a noun means owl. So une chouette, an owl. But chouette can also be used as an adjective to mean something is nice or cool. And an example is, cette chouette est très chouette. This owl is very nice or very cool. Pluto. Pluto, as two different words, means earlier. Whereas Pluto as one word, it means rather. So let's look at the first Pluto. So the two separate words. Tôt actually means early. And plus or plus means more. So more early, earlier. And the second one, again, as one word, plutôt, it means rather. And then I just realized that there's also the planet Pluto, which in French would be Pluto, and the dog from Mickey Mouse. So Pluto, that would also be Pluto. But maybe let's just stick to those two on the screen for now. An example is, tu devrais plutôt venir plus tôt. You should rather come earlier. Tante with an E means aunt, whereas tante with an E means tent. Une tante, an aunt. Une tante, a tent. Ma tante n'aime pas dormir dans une tente. My aunt does not like to sleep in a tent. Père and père. So père in green means father, whereas père in the other color means a pair. For example, a pair of shoes. Mon père a acheté une nouvelle paire de chaussures. My father bought a new pair of shoes. Peau and peau. Peau, P-E-A-U, means skin, our skin. La peau, the skin. Whereas pot, P-O-T, means a pot or a container. And we see un pot. So la peau, the skin, le pot, the pot or the container. Ce sac est fabriqué à partir de la peau d'un crocodile. This bag is made from a crocodile's skin. Il a fait ou il a fabriqué ce pot. He made this pot. Leur. Leur, L-E-U-R, means their or them. Whereas leur, L'-H-E-U-R-E, means time or hour. So heure without the L' means time or hour, but l'heure with the L' is the time or the hour, actually. So we say une heure, So heure is feminine, but we don't say la heure because the H is silent. That's why we use L apostrophe instead of la. An example is leur mère leur ont appris à toujours être à l'heure. That's a mouthful, I know. Their mother taught them to always be on time. Oh, the first word, their, should also be in green, but their mother, their is leur mère. And in this case, if we were talking about two people, for example, their parents, so it's not just their mother, which is one person, but both their parents, then leur would have an S. But it would still be pronounced as leur. Leur mère or leurs parents, leur ont appris, so taught them. Actually, it means to them, kind of like taught to them, but you get the point. And à l'heure is on time. Now we have three different words with the same sound. Foie, foie, and foie. Again, it's the same sound because that's what we're talking about today. But foie, F-O-I, means faith. F-O-I-E means liver. And F-O-E-S means time. So you might be asking, well, we just talked about time, which was heure or l'heure. Yes, but time as heure is more like an hour, whereas time as in fois is more like one time something happened, une fois, or once upon a time. So it's kind of like an occurrence, whereas the other time, l'heure, was the time on the clock. So what time is it? Quelle heure est-il? But last time would be la dernière fois. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the difference between heure and fois in this video, but if you want a video about that, let me know in the comments below and I'll make one. An example with foi, meaning faith, is vous devez avoir la foi. You need to have faith. You need to have faith. An example with the two other words are combien de fois dois-je vous dire que l'alcool n'est pas bon pour le foie? How many times do I need to tell you that alcohol is not good for the liver? And if you notice, foi, meaning faith, is feminine. La foi, foie, meaning liver, is masculine. Le foie, and you might not notice it here, but fois, meaning time, is feminine as well. Une fois. The next words are mère, so mère, mère, mère. The first two, so M-E-R, which means si, and M-E accent grave R-E, which means mother, are both feminine. So la mère, the si, la mère, the mother. But the third one, M-A-I-R-E, which means meilleur, is masculine. So we say le maire, the mayor. Je vais au bord de la mer avec ma mère, mais sans le maire. I'm going to the seaside, so au bord de la mer is the seaside, with my mother, but without the mayor. So here you can clearly see that la mère and ma mère, so those two words are feminine, whereas mayor, mère, this word is masculine, so we used le maire. Compte, compte, and compte. So compte with an MP, so the first one, the green one, means an account. For example, a bank account, un compte bancaire. So that's a noun, but it can also be used as a verb for I count or I am counting, and he, she, or it. I mean, I guess we can't say it counts. I mean, I guess if a machine counts, it doesn't matter. So he counts, he is counting, she counts, she's counting. So that would be je compte, il compte, elle compte. Compte, C-O-M-T-E, the middle one, it's not used very often anymore, but you might see it in a story or in a history book or something like that. But this one means account, which is like a nobleman. And I have no idea if that person in the picture is actually a count, but let's just assume that he is. And the third conte is story. So for story, you could also say histoire, but a conte is kind of like a tale. So a fairy tale is un conte de fées. So all three of them, when used as nouns, are masculine: un compte bancaire, un compte, et un conte de fées. So a bank account, or nobleman, and a fairy tale. So I guess instead of story, I should have written tale, but it's fine. An example is c'est le conte d'un conte. It is the story or the tale of a count. Now, the first compte used as a verb is il compte sur ses doigts. He is counting on his fingers, or he counts on his fingers. Mur, mur, and mur. Mur, M-U-R, means wall. That's the simplest one. Mûr, the second one, means ripe, so it's an adjective. And the reason we have E in brackets is that if we're talking about a ripe banana, for example, a banana in French is une banane. So a ripe banana would be une banane mûre with an E. Whereas if we were talking about an avocado, so a ripe avocado would be un avocat mûr. So this one would be without the E, because avocat is a masculine noun, whereas banane is a feminine noun. And the last mûr, M-U accent circonflexe R-E, is a noun, which means blackberry. So a blackberry in French is une mûre. An example is la mûre est mûre. So the blackberry is ripe. An example with mur meaning wall is on doit peindre ce mur. We need to paint this wall. Pâte. Pâte, P-A accent circonflexe T-E-S, means pasta. And this is usually used in the plural form because we can't really count pasta, but it looks like there's a lot of it, I guess. But we say les pâtes. So pasta is les pâtes. Pâte, P-A-T-T-E-S, means pause. Whereas pâte, P-A accent circonflexe T-E, that's a dough. Une pâte à pizza, for example, is a pizza dough. So I have 3 different examples for this one. And the first one is, vous aimez manger des pâtes? Do you like eating pasta? Nous avons acheté de la pâte à pizza. We bought pizza dough. And the third one is, il y avait des empreintes de pâte sur son pantalon. There were paw prints on his pants. The next word is cent. So cent, 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 and cent. Cent, C-E-N-T, is 100. Sans, S-A-N-S, is without. S-E-N-S is actually a verb conjugated in the present tense. So the verb in the infinitive is sentir. Sentir is to feel or to smell. They are both. We use the same verb for both. And I smell, or you smell, or I feel, and you feel, all of them use S-E-N-S. So je sens or tu sens. The last one is sang, S-I-N-G, and this one means blood. An example is, je suis sûre à 100% que je sens du sang. Sans aucun doute. I'm 100% sure that I smell blood without a doubt. So that's everything for this video. Don't forget to download your free guide on verbs and verb tenses. Again, the link is in the description below, or I'll also put it in the first comment. If you liked this video and got value out of it, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you never miss a video from us. As a thank you for staying until the end, we have a bonus for you. And this word, or these words, are pronounced as sel. So sel, sel, and sel. Sel, S-E-L, means salt. S-E-L-L-E means saddle. And C-E-L-L-E is a demonstrative pronoun, which means this one or that one, but when referring to a feminine noun. I'll give you an example right after, but for salt, we say le sel, whereas for saddle, we use la sel. So le sel or du sel for the salt or salt, whereas la sel or une sel for the saddle or a saddle. An example is, celle-là contient du sel. So that one contains salt. And I put cette cuillère-là in brackets, so that spoon, because celle-là, celle, C-E-L-L-E, would only be used if that object we're talking about was feminine. So in this case, cuillère, spoon, is feminine. That's why we used celle-là. If we were talking about a masculine noun, for example, a bowl, so for example, if we wanted to say ce bol-là contient du sel, then we would say celui-là contient du sel. So the feminine is celle-là, the masculine is celui-là. And the example for saddle is mettez la selle sur le cheval. Put the saddle on the horse. Again, thank you so much for watching until the end. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care.